Parsha 101, Haftarah 101. This week's Haftarah is with Parshas Vayeira. And there's much that goes on in Parshas Vayeira, but one of the main highlights is that Avram and Sarah finally have their son Yitzchak. This week's Haftarah is from the book of Kings 2. So the book of Kings, the prophets, is split into two books. It's from the second one, and it tells a few stories of the prophet Elisha, who was a student and sort of the successor to Elijah the prophet. So during the time of Elijah, that he lived during the time of King Achav, when the kingdoms were split, the northern kingdom, King Achav and his wife Jezebel, things happened that they decided they're wiping out all the prophets. And their official, one of the palace officials, Obadiah, decided that he's going to take care of them. So he hid like 100 prophets in a cave, and he took care of them at his own expense, taking out loans, etc. And he fell very heavily into debt. He passed away, and his wife didn't have any way to pay off this debt. So she comes to Elisha. He doesn't specify. After just says a woman come. The commentators tell us who this is. And she says to Elisha, she says, "Your servant, my husband, is dead, and I can't pay this off. And now they're coming to take away my children, my two sons." So Elisha says, "Okay, what have you got in your house?" There's a general idea that when a person asks for a blessing, they should make a vessel. There has to be a physical object placed somewhere in the physical world to anchor that blessing. If not, it just stays within the physical realms, which is always why there's usually actions that go along with certain things, like giving tzedakah in honor of something, or anything along those realms. So here, Elisha says, "What have you got in your house?" So she said, "I got nothing but a small jug of oil." So okay, go and find as many empty vessels as you can, and even go out and borrow from the neighbors. Just gather as many as you can. Bring it to your house, close your door, you and your sons. Take this jug of oil and start pouring. So she does as instructed. She starts pouring, and the oil just flows and flows and flows and flows. So finally she tells her sons, "Okay, bring the next vessel." I'm like, "There's no more." And at that point, the oil stops flowing. And she sells the oil, and that's enough to pay off the debts. And then she also has enough now for her and her sons to live on. So that's the first story that's told. The next story that's told is Elisha traveling throughout the kingdom and the country. He used to pass by this city called Shunem. And there was a couple, and they once gave him a meal, etc. And then from then on, he would frequently stop there on his travels, to the point that the woman said to her husband, "Okay, he's always here. Let's build a special room for him, and bed and table and chair, and etc." And this they do for him. So he always has this whenever he's in the area. So once he's there, and he says to the woman, he wants to be able to bless her with something. Like, "What can I give you? Do you need connections or something?" And she's like, "Nah, I don't need that." So his servant, whose name is Gehazi, who was Elisha's servant, but he wasn't at the merit that Elisha was Elijah's servant, and Elisha became he of course is a very great prophet in his own right. Gehazi was not exactly on that level. But he points out, he says, they don't have any kids. So Elisha says, okay, he calls the woman, he says, this time next year, this season, you're going to have a son. And the woman at first was like, don't give me these blessings if just this random blessing that's going to disappoint or it's not going to come true, etc. And he's like, no, this is what it's going to be. So as he said, a year later, she gives birth to a boy. And the boy grows up. A couple years later, the baby's now a child, etc. He's out in the fields one day, and all of a sudden he complains that his head hurts. And his father sends him to his mother, and basically the boy dies. And the mother lays him out on the bed of Elisha, in the room that she's got. She lays him out on this bed. She closes the door and she goes, "Okay, get me a donkey." And she goes to find Elisha, and he's at Har Carmel. And she comes to him and she's like, "Look, I never asked for this blessing, and you gave it to me, and now it's even worse now that he died, etc." So Elisha at first gave Gehazi, his servant, instructions, but that wasn't helpful. But the woman's like, "No, you got to come and fix this." So Elisha comes, and he closes himself in the room with the child and does this whole thing with the pacing and this, that, whatever. He brings the child back to life and returns to the mother, and the boy grows up, etc., and all is well. So those are the three miracles that occurred, two stories with three miracles in it that occur with Elisha in this week's Haftorah. And just as a general idea, the first story with the oil, they speak about this a lot in Chassidus and Tanya. They compare this, that when the woman comes to the prophet and says, "What am I supposed to do? My husband is dead, your servant is dead, and they're coming to take my two sons." This is a parallel, but the woman is like the soul coming up to God, is like the fire, because my husband is Ishi, which is like Aish of God, the fire of God. Like the fire of God within me is dead. I feel nothing for all of this. I'm going to come and do your bidding. Like, I sort of fear you, but I'm not feeling anything from it. I'm like There's no emotion to any of this. The two sons that they're coming to take away are the love and fear. This body and these physical desires are pulling me, and I got no fight left in this. So it's okay, what are you supposed to do about it? You're supposed to start acting. You're supposed to start pouring, start doing. And through doing, eventually, you will have enough that to sustain you, as in through action. And you're going to do Torah, mitzvahs, you're going to study, and you're going to learn, and you're going to do. Eventually, this will ensure that the sons will not be taken away or bring them back, per se, that the love and the fear of God, the emotion that you have for God will come back, will be reinstilled, and all will be good. And that's the Haftorahs for this week.